or to block future calls, dial 1-877-650-4249. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call, press now. This call is subject to monitoring and recording. Do not use three-way or call waiting features during this call. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Mr. Hansen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, I did get a question that came in specifically for you. Let me read that first, if you don't mind. The question is, it's from a email address called 1SCR, so I'm not sure if you recognize that, but there's no name given. It says, when the judge had to dismiss the case for lack of jurisdiction and did not, is there anyone in the justice system who, when they have to, will act constitutionally in the interest of you two defendants, Paul and Kent?
I don't know. I think it's possible that when a judge has plenty of evidence before them and the premise of the law that she's required to dismiss the case and she doesn't, I can't see why she's not liable for damages. Let's say, for example, that you sit in jail for another 3 months because she wouldn't do that. The judge is supposed to administrate the law just as it's written, no more, no less. And if you show them the written law and you give them judicial notice that the law requires that she would dismiss the case and she doesn't, she's acting outside of the written law, and she's subject to damages. Now, anytime you act outside of the law on government property, I believe you're subject to a U.S. court to make that determination. But when you act outside of the law on land that's not of the United States, which these courthouses are, they're not owned by the United States of America. We could bring the administrator, which they call the judge, into a court of record and ask him, by what authority did you continue to prosecute this man? If she can't produce authority, we can turn to the jury and ask for damages. And,
right.
if it's to a certain level, we can actually have the jury make the determination that the judge is acting as a policy maker for the county or the state or whatever you're dealing with. In this case, the federal government would be acting as a policy maker, and the policy maker and the United States is allowing to operate is contrary to the Constitution. Then you could go after the United States for damages because they're allowing this policy maker to act outside of the Constitution limits. Does that help answer?
Yeah, absolutely. But in regards to the question about is there anyone in the justice system left? Is there anyone left who, when they have to, will act constitutionally? I mean, do you have any faith that there's anybody left in the judicial system that will act constitutionally, or do you think they've been purged by this illegal administration?
Well, the reason most judges get away with not acting constitutionally is because the attorneys do not give judicial notices of the written law that the administrator must follow. You just don't hear that anymore in the courtrooms. You don't hear judicial notice on as soon as the judge is notified of the law, she's subject to the law. They're not subject to any of the law until they're judicially noticed on the record. If you pull up to an intersection and there's no stop sign there, it's laying in the grass or it's behind a bush or whatever, you're not subject to that stop sign. You can't be fined for not stopping. So it's the same way with the judge. She has to be clearly notified of that written law that forces her to do something, and if she doesn't do it, then she's acting in her personal capacity. So basically, when they violate that written law, you can take it into a court of record, especially when she's doing it on land that's not in possession or territory of the United States. You can take it into a court of record and bring it in front of a jury of 12. Say, this is what happened. This is the damages caused, and the jury will turn to her and say, well, what gave you authority to do that? he's showing the law that requires you to do this, and you didn't do it. You did the opposite. The jury can make the decision of the damage, not another U.S. court judge. I think it's very scary for them to come against people that are refusing to take on an attorney.
Yeah.
Well, attorneys will not put judicial notices in front of judges. The judges hate judicial notices.
Yeah.
I tried to put a couple judicial notices in front of Rogers, and she wouldn't have nothing to do with it.
Right.
Practically threatened me if I brought another judicial notice in front of her.
Yeah, I saw some of that. I saw that.
Anyway.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Now, in the past, I've done that in traffic tickets, and I had to ask 4 times to get the judicial notice in. This one case, I gave a judicial notice on. Let's see. I can't remember what it was, but it was just like one of the amendments, and on due process, and I had to ask the judge 4 times, and then finally, he puts his hands on the bench and puts his head down like a little child taking medicine. He says, "Okay, I'll take judicial notice." He said, take him away. So they took me away. I was in my cell for about 15 minutes or half an hour, and they came to me and said, "Hansen, you're out of here. We don't know why, but the judge says get him out of here."
Wow.
So that judicial notice scared the heck out of him.
Wow.
Out of here. Never did tell me why. Never did tell me why.
Yeah.
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
Just leave. Hey.
No, the judicial notice did it.
Yeah. No. Amen. Let me ask you another question about, you keep referring to this court of record, and I'm not clear on, could you elucidate a little bit on like what a court of record is and what that means, and are there any examples of courts of records nowadays, or courts of records that in action that we could refer to, like that are happening recently, or what do you mean by that exactly when you say court of record?
When you, I've got the paperwork with me. I can't quote it, but it does say that the U.S. courts can act as a court of record, and they are courts of record. But it also, the Seventh Amendment also alludes to and evidences a court that operates as a right. Now, every court that you go in that has a United States flag in it, it is not a court of right. It is a court that has been created by the Constitution. It is a legislative article. It's either created by the legislature or created right off the bat by Article 3 of the United States Constitution. So if you go into court, and if it's Article 3 Constitution, that just means that the United States Constitution established that court. Now, if it's not an Article 3 constitutional court, it may be a legislative court that the legislature, because the legislature is given permission by the Constitution to create any court necessary to meet its constitutional needs. Now, the court of record that I'm referring to, which you always want to define it if you ever put it in a document, is referred to and is referenced in the Seventh Amendment. Now, the Seventh Amendment is part of the Bill of Rights. The 1 through 10 is what was added to the Constitution as the Bill of Rights in 1791. These were rights that existed regardless of the creation of the Constitution. So it speaks of a court that you can utilize that cannot be overturned by any U.S. court. That's the court of record. So you can call it a lot of different names. Some people call it a common law court, but all you have to do is reference it as it's a people's court that existed. It exists independent of the United States, and it's a people's court. And the people's court the people are what gave permission for the United States to exist. So we know it's a superior court than the United States courts. It's extremely powerful court.
Okay, no, thank you for that. One other thing.
Do exist.
Yep.
Yeah, if you do study history, you'll find them scattered out history, but they've done everything they could to take that away. What they've done is the lawyer profession has basically worked in schools and colleges and courtrooms and the media to let people think that such a court does not exist. And if you do have a dispute, you've got to take it into a U.S. court And if you don't, and you try to mess around with these other courts, they even try to prosecute you on it and stuff. And usually when these people start these courts, these common law courts, and they don't do it properly, they almost always associate it with the United States court, which is fatal and gets them in big trouble. But the court that I'm accustomed to it's clearly indicated in its paperwork that it has nothing to do with the United States courts, and it only acts as a good neighbor with the United States. It doesn't act as being of the United States. Okay, go ahead.
No, thank you. Are you aware of Christopher Klotz's motion that he put in yesterday regarding a request for a transcription of the witnesses, and he gave a list of witnesses that he would like the transcribing of?
Yeah, he told me about that. I don't exactly know what he's going to try to do is he's going to try to find weaknesses in their testimony.
Okay.
And also strengths that we can use from their testimony to uphold our new court trial day. He believes that it's going to be actually easier to win this case than it was the last case on the same issues. So,
all right.
And I agree. They're as far as I know, they don't have no witnesses, no new evidence, and we should be able to handle and defuse a lot of the things where they smoke and mirrors that they presented before the jury last time. They didn't have much of a case, and they just pushed a whole bunch of fluff in front of them and try to confuse the jury. And we should be able to just cut that off immediately.
Amen. So, if I remember properly, you had 5 counts against you, right? You had 2 criminal contempt of court and 2 mail fraud and 1 conspiracy to commit mail fraud. Is that correct?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Okay, and I think they found you guilty on 2 criminal contempt of courts, and they hung on all the they had a hung jury on all the mail fraud. Let me ask you this: who's going to be sitting? I want to ask you about the charges, but I want to ask this as well: who's going to be sitting with you at the table if you're going to be you, right? If you're going to be kind of, you said you don't like the phrase representing yourself, but if you're going to be you in that courtroom and driving the show, so to speak, is Chris Klotz going to be sitting with you at the table?
Yes, I'll still retain him as I don't know if retain is the proper word, but the Sixth Amendment says I have a right to counsel.
Okay.
So I'm going to have him as Sixth Amendment counsel, and I will mind my business, and I will not have a public defender, and I will not have an attorney.
Well, I'm looking forward to that.
I don't have a Sixth Amendment counsel. Yeah, no, we sent a guy in here from this mod, and he stood in front of the judge, and he told the judge, I said, I want to fire my attorney, and I want to have him move to the position of Sixth Amendment counsel, as Sixth Amendment counsel is found in the Constitution of the United States in 1791. And the judge repeated right back to him exactly what he wanted. He says, you got it.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Wow. Was that Margaret Casey Rogers or a different judge?
No, that was in County Judge Santa Rosa.
Okay, because Margaret Casey Rogers is a real piece of work, and every time I've seen her in action, it's just complete biasness. When she was questioning that jury poll
from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office,
when she was questioning that jury poll, her questions was, I think, some of the most biased questions I've ever heard of in my life, and the importance that she put on certain aspects of the questions. But let me ask you this as well: the 2 charges that they found you guilty on, are you concerned about that? Do you think you'll be able to easily overturn those? Do you think what's your thoughts on the charges that they did come back and found you guilty on? Do you think that you'll be able to easily overturn those?
I think so. I don't think they have any grounds to say that.
you have 60 seconds remaining.
As a matter of law, I did not violate those written laws. As a matter of law. Now the jury doesn't look at matter of law so much as the judge, but as a matter of law, I'm not subject to that, because they never got any evidence on the record that I did anything to be subject to those orders from the judge.
Right.
Prior to that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You had to go through a different process of getting me involved. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks, Paul. If you ever want to make a statement, you can always call. We pray for you and Kent daily, and we're looking forward to when you can get out of there. We don't like you being locked up anymore, and you like being locked up.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
If you had any topics that you want me to cover, you tell Kent, and I'll get it ready and get back to you.
I will do that. Let me think on it some more.
Okay.
Okay. God bless, Paul.
God bless you too. Bye.
Bye. All right, April the 22nd, we have 25 days, 17 hours, 28 minutes, and 52 seconds until May the 18th at 8 o'clock in the morning. And maybe God will just do an earthquake and just open that prison with an earthquake, and Paul and Kent can just walk on out of there. But maybe they'll just stay in the prison even if there's an earthquake, and they'll just request that Judge Margaret Casey Rogers, Tiffany Hope Eggers, Michelle M. Hildemeyer, Pamela C. Marsh, Scott Schneider, Chuck Evans, Rebecca Horton, J. Ryan Love. Maybe they'll just wait till they all come give an apology. That's what I would do, just wait for an apology. All right, God bless everyone here.